Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have another special guest on because she is in a business that I think impacts every type of business. So the hearing her journey is going to be phenomenal. So welcome to the show, Jennifer White. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, before we get into talking about, specifically your business and the business that you and your husband are in, what was your background before starting the business?
Yeah, so my background is literally the same as what I'm doing now in my business. I'm an engineer by trade, industrial engineer. And so I've always been that industrial engineer that's in the supply chain function, where we look at people, processes, and tools, more process oriented focus though, and making improvements in the supply chain.
Awesome. Now, that's an area that I enjoy hearing about. I mean, my background is accounting and finance, but I spent years working in for industrial manufacturing companies.
Mhm.
And I will say I learned to appreciate the value of thinking about processes and systems because I think across the board, every company has to deal with processes and procedures if they want to grow. So what was it like, said, navigating your career? I mean, where did you always have the plan of going into business for yourself, or, how did that transpire?
Yes, I always had the plan eventually to be in consulting. I didn't know that I would start my own firm, but it was hard navigating it first. I mean, I'm an engineer in a male dominated industry, one, and then the engineering curriculum is male dominated as well. So you kind of have to prove your weight somewhat as a female engineer. And now, as a female, co-owner with my husband Marcus, it's still kind of hard because we still service the same type of clients in those industries.
Hmm. Now, taking a brief step back, what even made you want to go down? I mean, knowing that those, like I said, that was the reality of it, it was male dominated in the engineering curriculum, engineering field. What was it about it that made you want to pursue that path?
I was always good in math. And so in high school, my teachers put me in AP math courses. And then I even started college early at the University of Central Florida into a program called SPACE. And it was a summer program for students that was geared toward having academic careers in computer science and engineering. So that's what really projected my path into the engineering function. I didn't know that I wanted to do industrial engineering at first, but I'm more of a people, human affairs type of person. So I'm always trying to understand how behaviors happen between human beings and systems and data. And so industrial engineering was just a perfect fit for me.
Awesome, awesome. Now, one of the questions I'm always very interested in with you is when you think about, the curriculum of, the training in your craft, and when you actually started working in the field, did you find much of a difference between the theory you were taught and the real world you had to actually deal with when you worked in
Absolutely. Well, you probably know in industry, things are very, what's the word, behind the times. So when you're in school, you learn all this new technology and you think it's so sophisticated, and it is, but it seems to be that only the entrepreneurs or startup and tech companies are utilizing these tools. When you get into industry in more corporate environments, they are utilizing tools that are, archaic, and they've been in existence for 20 to 30 years, and it's hard to change, the tools and technology they're using because of people, right? People have to have buy-in to understand, why are we changing this? Why are we doing this now? Why can't we keep utilizing what we've been using? So until you get over those humps, you will always have resistance to change when it comes to technology.
Gotcha. Now, well, I will say, I can understand that, especially when I worked in industrial manufacturing, where, like, briefly, you'd hear about, I guess for the finance people, we would hear about, companies in robotics and all of the latest gadgets. And then I go into industrial manufacturing and you see these huge machines that like, this
Hmm.
thing looks like it's like 30 years old.
Yes, older than you or I. I mean, let me ask you this. When's the last time you used a crystal report?
Oh, yeah. Crystal report. It's probably been, man, I can't think of the last time I have. And I think, and yeah, I can't think of the last time I
But
have.
people are still using them.
Wow.
Yeah, they
Wow.
are.
Yeah. And I think part of that may be because before starting my own firm, the last company I worked for was a fintech company. It was a younger fintech company. So on more of that fast pace, like
Hmm.
they're changing, like you said, those rare situations where you get to use the cutting edge stuff is because
Hmm.
the company was so young. But yeah, yeah, but no, that is a good point though. That is a real good point. Now, let's take it forward into, your firm. Now, with starting the firm, because it's always interesting to hear that story about how long did it take you to really find, hey, this is our niche or what we're going to focus on, and like about how many iterations did you go through before you got to that?
Yeah, for us, I would say it took us about 2.5 years of iterations and trying things out, like trial and error, literally, to figure out what our sweet spot was. So now we mainly focus with corporate clients. We do still support, smaller organizations and startups and some entrepreneurs, but our sweet spot is with corporate clients because they can understand the value that our organization can bring to their organization. And it's more, they look at it more as an investment versus an expense.
And I think that that is something that is very common for, and to be honest with you, and maybe you have some perspective on this. I ask myself like, why does it take so long to really grasp that, or to be okay with understanding like, you know what? Maybe I need to like change the type of clients that I'm going after because, like I said, they will see it as an investment, not an expense. Like,
Mhm.
why do you think it took 2 years to get to that point?
I think when you come out, you have a big heart, you have big eyes, and you just see the world as I can really help out here and I can bring value. And you want to do that with everyone, but then you get hurt, right? You get burned by trying to be, charitable or just giving. Sometimes it doesn't work in your favor. And then you learn from those mistakes that, I can't help everyone. They have to want to help themselves. So for us, that's why I said it took us like 2.5 years to realize that. And now we service clients who want to be helped. They're aware that they have an issue and they want help solving the problem.
Mhm. No, I think that's a good point. I think a mentor once told me, it was like, when you're in business, you're looking for the people who are looking for you. And at the time when they said that years ago, I did not understand what he meant. Like I said, in some respects, my wife has to pull me back because I still, like you said, have that huge heart. Like, oh, I can
Mhm.
help the world with their finances. And it's just like, well, not everybody wants your help, or not everyone will appreciate the type of
Right.
help that you can deliver. I'm like, oh, you know what? You're right. I should listen to my wife.
She's right.
So tell us a little bit about the types of services that your firm offers.
Yeah, so we are a performance consulting and leadership development firm. So we help those executives in manufacturing, operations, and supply chain improve efficiencies, right? So when we say efficiencies, it can be around people, process, tools, or technology, and data. So usually people don't have data or the right technology or processes documented, or they may have people in the wrong seats. Like they may not be doing the best that they can in the role that they're in, or they may need to look at different ways of standardizing work and working together as a team. So we come in and find those gaps where they exist and implement change where necessary. Now, it may just be a total overhaul. It may just be, we need to just impact one area, and that causes a ripple effect of all of the other inefficiencies. But for the most part, we tend to stay in that operations management realm. Like I said, improving those inefficiencies, implementing Lean Six Sigma, which is reducing waste and variability in your processes. And then we also, on our leadership development side, we work with executives to make sure they can maintain and sustain what we put in place. So we want to make sure they understand, what it is that we've implemented and leave it in their hands to carry on after we're gone.
Awesome. So where can potential customers or just people who are interested in learning about your firm, where can they find you online and where can they find you on social media?
Yes, so we hang out quite a bit on LinkedIn. That's where I met you. We're on LinkedIn all the time. And then our website is www.themjwgrp.com. That's where you can find us.
Awesome. Awesome. So how have you found that part of the business development side of, like say, going from, when you worked at a company where you knew the company brought the work to you, but now to
Mhm.
where it's like building that relationship and, building that relationship enough to where potential clients know the value you have to deliver. So how have you found that process?
I would say it's been trial and error for us as well. We're getting better at it. This year, we've put in a huge focus around business development and coming up with a strategy, mainly because we've brought on new team members since the second quarter of this year. And so now our time is getting more freed up to focus on those activities like relationship building or inbound marketing, where we may utilize other tools or other agencies to help us bring in a funnel of leads versus us having to do it all of the time, because you only have so much time in a day. So we're getting more smart and strategic about our time and how we spend our time, and making sure we are working on the right activities when it comes to business development, so that we are visible, our clients see us in the right places where we need to be, and we can easily get connected with them as well.
Awesome, awesome. So now when you're thinking about, your clients and the type of clients that, your firm can add the most value for, how would you describe, these are the type of clients that you guys can provide phenomenal value for?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, definitely need to be in the operations or manufacturing space. That's not to say we can't help in an SVP or a customer service VP as well, because the process is the same, right? You're always going to evaluate your people, processes, tools, and data to make sure they align with the overall goals and strategies of your organization or your business. So definitely those clients, like I said, in that industrial manufacturing space. We work well with those in the consumer goods industries, telecommunication, food and beverage, and also just general manufacturing services as well, like distribution or transportation, or just like a machine shop. We tend to work well with those type of industries. And so the value we bring, like I said, is showing people where you can be in the future if you make these small changes. And change is very hard. People resist change down to the last minute. And it's so hard. It's so hard to get them to understand you can't see this right now. It is intangible, but in the long run, you will see, the changes that you made, how it's going to impact your business in the long run.
Gotcha. Awesome. Awesome. Now, before we wrap up, one question that I like to ask every guest that comes on is when you think about, your journey and, coming from your career, whether that be in your business now, what are two pieces of advice that you would share with other entrepreneurs based on what you've learned in your journey?
The first thing is be open to learning from others. You do not have all of the answers, and it's okay to seek help in getting those answers that you need. The second thing I would say is to let go and let other people help you solve problems. So, meaning if you're a solopreneur right now, look at where you can outsource some activities that you're doing, because if you ever bring someone in is on your team, you're going to have to figure out ways to replicate what it is that you're doing, standardize the work, and relay that information to them to where they can understand it. So that's why we promote documentation so heavily, because a lot of people just say, well, I don't need to do that. It's just me in my business. Well, your business may blow up in a year and then you have like 30 team members. So it's so much easier to document as you go along versus trying to do that 2-3 years down the line. And you're trying to remember, what did I do? Like, how did we get here? Like, I can't tell you how we got here. And that's a big oops if you're finding yourself in that situation.
Gotcha. No, I think that is really good advice. Because I definitely think even myself, I have to remind myself that it's very easy to get caught up in, you know, since the team is just my wife and I right now, it's just like, hey, doing what works for us. But then I have to step back and remind myself, like, when we grow, will someone else other than my wife and I be able to step
Mm-hmm.
into this process and still get the same result?
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, I'll share this with you. This is probably my third favorite book. Until you master this, you are a technician, just like he says.
You know what? I laugh because you are the fourth person that I've had on the show that has referenced that book.
Good. Somebody's trying to tell you something.
And and what's funny is like I last week I met some friends up in Asheville to go on a hike. And
Okay.
on the way back, I started listening to that book. So that's another reason why I laugh. And so I'm like, I know what she's talking about.
I'm so glad. There's no resistance of change here.
But yeah, I definitely do. I do believe that is so true, and I think that advice is applicable to any business, whether I think it's in the manufacturing, um, or even in, like I said, even when I think about with the Business Talk Library, because one of the things that I've been working on is as getting more clients on the CPA and the finance side of my business is having to expand the Business Talk Library and having other hosts and other people involved in the process to where it's like we still want to deliver the value. And I always say is I don't want to grow at the expense of the value that we're delivering. And what I've learned is, yeah, definitely as I begin to improve those processes and have those in place, it allows us to be able to grow and still deliver value as we grow.
Awesome. I love it. I
Yeah.
totally love it. And you get it, which is awesome.
Hmm. Yes. I will say it takes some time.
Of course, I think it boils down to because you're a numbers person, or bean counter, as we call you accounting folks and finance folks. But I think we tend to use more of our left brain, right? Because we're logical, analytical, and everything has to have a reasoning behind it. Whereas, I'm trying to venture off more into this right brain here now, where I'm more creative and take more risk and, doing things, spontaneously. And it's hard. It really is hard. I've never been one to just willy-nilly through life without a plan, without a checklist, sticky notes, all over the place. Like, that's just me. So we have a schedule, you know, in my personal life, we have a schedule for our business, and it works. I don't know how people don't have a schedule. I don't know. Bewilders me. I don't know.
I will definitely say, I think when someone once told me, it was like, if you can manage your life without a plan, you aren't doing too much. It's like, because when you have
That's
enough
true.
things going on, the plan helps you stay on track. But it's like, if you can manage everything off the top of your head, you don't have that much going on.
Right, right. That's true. I like that. You should put that on the shirt.
Thanks for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, be sure to click the subscribe button and follow us on all social media platforms as the Business Talk Library.